We all are looking to build a legacy, something that endures, something that lasts, something that other people enjoy and can benefit from. Most of us aren't actually doing any physical building, but my guest on this episode is Brandon Cobb is physically building homes and refreshing and reigniting neighborhoods and communities. He's a former medical device sales rep before becoming the fund manager and licensed general contractor in Tennessee, managing $35 million plus, you heard me, $35 million plus of new development annually in entry-level first-time home buyer housing. That means that Brandon is making it easier for people to live the quote-unquote American dream, become a home owner. Brandon really needs to come to LA. Brandon's been featured on the cover of REI Wealth Magazine, Realty 411 Magazine, and has been quoted and published in Forbes Magazine. If you're interested in learning from someone who is building a very tangible legacy, then, my friend, this episode is for you. All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. If you're looking for actionable ways to stand out from the crowd by standing in your power, you've come to the right place. Each week, we help you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs become radically authentic and tap into your unique story to attract your ideal clients. Listen in and learn how to use energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies to transform from a leader to a legend. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. It's a pleasure.
Those listeners out there do not know that this is actually the second time we've spoken this week, because I just recorded on your podcast, and I think of it as a blessing because apparently we were just hanging out this week.
Yeah, I guess so. Who knows? Who knew that we were going to spend so much time together this week? It was a pleasant surprise.
It was a pleasant. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. So, but I know much more about you now, but let everybody else know a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my name is Brandon Cobb. I'm co-founder and CEO of HBG Capital. We're a real estate investment firm that invests primarily in the Nashville, Tennessee market. We love affordable entry-level housing. We do about $20-30 million of development per year. But once upon a time, I was in medical device sales. If you told me 8 years ago that we'd be building neighborhoods and putting people in houses and making investments, I'd have looked at you like you had 8 heads. And I don't have a story where I hated what I did and there was a last straw moment and I quit and I had this dream. I actually love what I did. So I was the guy going in wearing scrubs every day. I was rubbing shoulders with orthopedic surgeons, training hospital staff. I thought I was the coolest kid on the block in his 20s, getting to do surgery. And I sat down. The moment my life changed was one Friday afternoon when I was meeting my boss at Starbucks, and I was very excited. I had a very incredible day as a sales rep. As you know, you have one of those days where they throw a dog a bone or stuff just falls in your lap. It was that day. It was a great day for a sales rep. And I pulled up to Starbucks. The sun was shining. I think the equinox hadn't hit yet. It was in June, so there was a lot of sunlight out. Felt like it was 11 a.m. in the morning. I remember the smell of the coffee hit my nostrils, and I was like excited to tell my boss about this amazing day. And as I sit down across from him and start to have coffee, he fires me.
Oh no! What did you do?
Well, that's why I was kind of shocked. I was like, well, what happened here? I thought I had the Rookie of the Year award 6 months ago, and I worked 60 hours a week, and I was very single at the time because that's all I wanted to do was work. And that's what started me on my real estate journey. I gave myself
before we go on the real estate journey, we got to stop. So why did he fire you?
I don't know. He said that, Brandon, I don't think that you're the right fit for us, whatever that means.
That's a
And
cop out. There's something else
oh,
happening
of
there.
course, there was probably something else. And I mean, I was shocked, right? And I was about 3 hours and a bunch of phone calls later, I kind of got over the shock. But that was a pretty life-changing moment for me because it taught me that nobody is going to look out for my financial well-being but me. You can be as loyal as you want to another company. You can put in decades of blood, sweat, and tears, work the hours, and all it takes is some economic event or a downsizing or new management restructuring, and then boom, you're starting all over again. So that event really taught me that I was the only one that was going to look out for my financial well-being.
That's right. I've given you little snaps for that one. Okay, now continue with the story. But then now we're in the real estate. Keep going.
Fast forward 20 years, we've got to focus on, we do entry-level housing. We like that. So 35% of the home buying population can't afford anything. And we're the guys trying to give them something to afford, basically.
Wow. I wish that you did this in Los Angeles. I don't know what that would even look like. Because that's where we live. And we're like, oh, we really want to buy. And we're like, in our area, an entry-level fixer-upper starts at $1 million. So we're like, we're working our way towards that. That's not where we're currently at right now.
Wow. Yeah. For us, it's like a $350,000 home. You know.
Yeah. See, this is why Nashville is a sexy area to live in. Very attractive.
That's tough to move into. Now, I couldn't imagine, honestly. I mean, where we really add value to the sellers that we help, to the investors we work with, to the end users that supply our product, is it starts with the city. What we do is we just give people what they want. So we go to the cities and we say, hey, what's the vision for the community? What's lacking? What are you guys trying to build? What are the citizens complaining about? And we take that feedback and then we go, okay, where are the areas that are not the highest and best use? Where do you guys want to see density? If we were to create an additional $1 million a year in tax revenue, where would you spend it? How would you reinvest it back in the community? And we just connect the dots. And so we go to those areas. And what I love about what we do personally is just so many people win in the process of development.
Yeah.
You get the city that gets additional tax revenue to invest back in its citizens, back into the community. You get home price appreciation for all the neighbors. We're pushing up values all around us. We're supplying jobs, especially to a lot of blue collar working class families. And then we get to create this entry level home product that, I mean, for us, it's cool to create something that somebody gets to raise a family in, right? It's their first home. They usually have a kiddo or two, or they're about to have some kiddos. Very exciting time in their life. And then, of course, our investors win and we all make money. So that's one of the things that I love about what I do, is it just happens to be something that everybody gets to win.
And as a Californian, I'd like to apologize to the people of Nashville. So if you're listening to this and you live in Nashville, for all the Californians that have bombarded you and have raised those home rates up so that Brandon needs to come in and create these homes for you, I would like to apologize.
Y'all are buying up a lot of the houses. Let me tell you, it is a real thing. Y'all are buying up a lot of the houses. I know there's a lot of buyers from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yep, from the Bay Area and from LA, because it's expensive, and we want the same quality of life that we grew up with, right? We want to be able to afford a house just like everybody else. But I understand that I spend a lot of time in Nashville because I'm a StoryBrand certified guide. StoryBrand is based there. I do the live stream and do recording for workshops and stuff. So I was there a lot. And every time I'm in an Uber and I say I'm from California, people are like, oh, you Californian. They ask me, you're not moving here, are you? I'm like, no, I guess not.
Yeah. The Nashville natives are a dime a dozen now.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, so now I think that people have a very good understanding of what you do and how wonderful you are. So let me ask you, when you don't feel like the real estate angel that you are, and you're feeling off, or you're not connected to your why, or you're feeling like just kind of meh, how do you know? What are the signs in your life that you know that you're off? And what do you do about it when you're feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, and stressed to spark your spark?
Well, it happens frequently. And I'm sure there's a lot of other business owners out there who go through something similar. If you're signing up to be your own boss, to create your own reality, to build your own business, you're going to have the roller coaster ride of stress. You're going to have those disconnects. That is part of it. So let me tell you, you are not alone out there. For me, I follow the rule of where my feet are, my head should be. And if my head's not where I am, if I'm noticing that I'm disconnected with my conversations at night with my wife, when I'm unplugged from work, when I'm noticing that I'm not in the present moment, if I'm thinking about the future too much, that's for me. Anxiety and worry, when you're thinking about the future, you're just, and you're worrying. Worry is praying for what you don't want to happen. That's when I know I'm disconnected. And my energy levels tend to be a little bit lower. I'm a very high energy person. And when I get that kind of mellowed out feeling, I know that I'm not in my right headspace. So then the question becomes, well, what are tools that I use to help mitigate that? Tool number one, journaling. I only journal when I'm stressed out. There's something about getting all the thoughts that are plaguing you onto paper. We've had developments where, man, we thought we're going to go fantastic and they haven't. Right? There's been some break-even stuff, some economic situations. Last year we had to deal with crazy increase in interest rates, capping the appreciation on all of our houses. Inventory absorption rates are not where they were spring of last year. Construction cost, inflation, energy prices last year going through the roof. I mean, this is all stressful stuff. Now, luckily, we took certain steps to mitigate things, but it takes certain tools to really get yourself out of that. Journaling for me helps get those monkey thoughts onto paper and out of my head. The other thing that I like to do is personify my stress. So my stress is called Carl. So if you get very in tune with what it feels like, kind of to your question, how do you know you're disconnected? Being able to give some texture to that stress, to identify it, and then personifying it, it helps it create like a third party view of your stress. And so you can say, oh, that's Carl again. Carl, get out of here. Not tonight. And you can kind of it helps push it away. It compartmentalizes it and helps push it away. The third thing that I like to do if I notice that I'm just really struggling is I like to change my state. So I own a cold plunge. I might go do a cold plunge. I might go do a walk. I try to change my physiology, exercise, go on a run, do something to break my current train of thought. And the best way to do that is physiology. So those are the three tools I use: changing my physiology, personifying my stress, and journaling my thoughts.
Okay. The personifying the stress part I loved all of the tools, but the personifying the stress part was my favorite because I think it's also like the way you said, oh, Carl, like it was like a bad little kid acting up, right? Yeah. And now I have to figure out because my limiting belief character's name is Jessica, Beautiful Unicorn Rabbit. That's a whole story there. Just put that to the side. But now I am going to name my stress because I do the same thing. I find myself living in the future way, 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 way too much. And I need to bring myself in the present. And stress is the thing that immediately kicks me out. Maybe a Linda. I don't know. I mean, she's definitely going to get a name. She's definitely going to get a name now.
It really does.
How did you decide on Carl?
That's a great question. I was sitting there with my wife on the couch and Carl came up. Now I want to know. I don't remember, but I remember it was in the living room. We were sitting on the couch. We were about to watch something. We were talking about my stress because one of the things that I do when I'm stressed out is I let my wife know what's going on. I don't keep that in. And, during rough times, I have to say, hey, look, I'm not going to be as present. I'm going to be working until 7 p.m. every night. I've got to figure out some things. And, she's understanding because most of the time I'm very, very present. But every now and then when we go through something and you're like, all right, I got to put my cape on and get out there and fix some things, then I let her know, hey, look, I'm not going to be as present. Here's what's going on in my life. I need to fix this. And she gets it. She's been through a few of these and she's very supportive. She'll cook dinner at night and take care of me. She'll take over some of the responsibilities that I normally do. So we were sitting on the couch and I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure she was involved in that decision.
In the naming of Carl and Carl's baptismal naming moment.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to respond to you later via email and tell you what my version of Carl is, because I think that that is wonderful. Because why I love it so much is that it takes it as not a part of you. Because normally when we feel stressed, we are saying, oh, I am so stressed out, as opposed to looking at it as something separate. Like, no, I am calm.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, we're just going to borrow Carl for a second. Carl is doing all these things, saying all these things, making me feel this way. And that separation, even if it's just a millimeter of difference between you and Carl, that's when you're able to come up with solutions as opposed to being overwhelmed by the stress. So I love it. I absolutely love it. So when you're in that, well, I guess I don't want to say in stress. When Carl is particularly loud, and you feel like, you are looking, or at least this is how I felt. I'm looking for answers. I'm sure you've gotten some not great advice before, yeah, that you've had to follow.
I want to make sure I understand your question. Not great advice from
other people.
Carl?
Yes, Carl has no good advice, but from other people. When you're feeling stressed out and you're looking for solutions, have you gone to others and gotten some not great advice?
I'm pretty sure that I've figured out like what I need to do when I'm stressed out. Talking about it with other people, helps too. I'm a part of a lot of entrepreneur communities, a lot of development communities, and it really does take a community to get to where you need to go, because the entrepreneur journey can be very lonely. And so if I'm going through some particular struggles, it's really nice to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody else who's been through it and talk it through. I'd say that's probably the fourth tool that I use going through that. So just being honest, I don't ask a whole lot of people like, oh, I'm stressed, what do I do? Like, I know what I need to do, and it's up to me to do it.
Oh, well, that's good. That's wonderful sense of accountability and responsibility. I think that if more entrepreneurs had that, and that stronger sense of self, we would be a lot further. Because when we get thrown off of our center and feel like we don't know what to do, or we need to try to figure it out because for some reason we're doubting ourselves, I feel like that's when a lot of issues come into play. So I'm really glad that you tend to have a stronger sense of self in that process. When you're in the process of setting your vision and creating a strategic plan, tell us what that's like, because you've built a company, it sounds like, from nothing as a medical device salesperson to I'm going to just call you a real estate mogul. What did that look like? And how did you set that vision, and how do you continue to set that vision?
It's one of those things that it keeps morphing, quite frankly. Real estate's one of those things where you got to be able to pivot with the market. And one thing that I love about development is there's so many exit strategies. You can rezone and entitle just the land and then sell it, or you can develop it and sell the individual pads to other builders, or you can build it yourself, or you can build it and hold on to it long term. So you have like a rental strategy, a build to sell, a raw land entitlement. So there's so many exit strategies depending on what the market calls for. I remember 7 years ago, I wanted to flip 100 houses a year. I wanted to flip, that was like my goal, 100. I want to flip 100 houses. And I thought that would be so exciting. And it was just this crazy thing that didn't seem possible. It was the vision, right? Because it was so new, going from medical sales to now I'm making money myself. It is like going into a whole different world. You ever been to another country and the food's different? You can't understand anything. You can't read a menu, and people are, they look different. It was funny. My buddy, he's got made fun of his entire life for being really short. He's like 5'1", 5'2". He's a guy, and he goes over to China and he's sending me pictures, and I'm like, something's like, what's up with these pictures? There's something I can't put my finger on. And then it hit me. He was the tallest person in all the photos with like the Chinese people he was meeting. I was like, what? And he's like, dude, it was like a different world. I was the tallest guy. I was like, this is what it's like to be the tallest person. That's kind of what it's like when you have a vision and you're figuring out what that is for the first time and you set it. The best part is actually accomplishing your vision. And so what does it become next? So we started flipping houses. Then we moved into doing single family new construction. So building new houses. And that was fun. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to start a construction company. We're going to be a GC. We got up to doing 30, 40 houses a year. And then we realized, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be easier to just build them all in the exact same area? Because we're kind of spread out, sort of like in these neighborhoods where you could tear down the house and build two. So then the vision became, all right, well, now we want to do these developments. And so we started doing these developments, and things really took off when we were able to build in the exact same area. And so the vision became, well, let's do 500 units. If we can entitle and rezone 500 lots that we can either sell or develop or build on, like how cool would that be? And then we hit that goal. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, it's up to you as the entrepreneur. You have to keep pushing the vision out. You have to have what Jim Collins has as a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? Because your team thrives off that. They want to feel like they're working towards something. They want to feel like they're working towards the vision. So it's always the CEO or the visionary's job to create that vision and keep pushing it out. So my vision's changed a lot. Now, right now, I can tell you what the vision is for us is we've done a lot of new construction, a lot of build to sell, entry-level housing. Like we're going to keep doing that. We're developing probably 200 lots for some other builders right now. Our next step is we want to start holding more assets long-term for ourselves and our investors to capture the tax benefits and create some long-term wealth appreciation and cash flow, honestly. So our goal is to build and hold $20 million a year of new construction rentals. And I want to do that for ourselves. I want to do that for our investors. So that's the new vision that we've got. And I'm sure once we hit that, then it'll be time to create another vision to push towards.
I love it. I love the vision pushing. And it sounds like there's been a lot of pivotal moments as you move from vision to vision to vision. But can you tell us, what would you consider the most pivotal moment in your life, a moment of rebirth? And how did you manage that transition? What did you learn? And how are you better now on the other side?
It's such a great question. There has been multiple times in my life where I've had, quote unquote, a rebirth. One of the biggest is obviously losing my job, right? And making that transition into entrepreneurship. It really is like stepping into a completely new world. One that I think a lot of people in your audience can maybe relate to. If you're in a position where maybe you're an army of one, or maybe you've got like a virtual assistant and you're trying to get your business just on its feet and kind of get started. I'll never forget when I learned a really tough lesson. I'd been in business for about a year. I was managing 2 rehabs. I was doing 1 new construction project. That was also crazy. The 4th deal I ever did was a new construction project. And just to give you an idea, medical sales. I don't know which way to swing a hammer. Nightmare. Never, ever do that. Learned a lot, but boy, was I stressed. And I was wearing all the hats. I was the project manager. I was working with the city to get inspections done. I was answering all the phones. I was sending out all the marketing. I was going on the sales appointments. I was following up with the CRM platform. And it quickly turned from this, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about what I do, to having to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, going to bed at 11, 12 o'clock at night, trying to stay up after hours to get the marketing out, follow up with sales calls, spend the whole day managing the projects. And I remember sitting there looking at the new construction project, and my hand was bleeding from an air filter that I'd picked up. And these subs were like screaming at me about getting paid. And I'm like, I'm not paying you. You didn't do it. And it hasn't passed yet. And they're like, oh, you're going to pay me. And my hand's bleeding. And I'm stressed because I've got like all my money in these projects and they're taking longer and I don't know what I'm doing. And I just hit the wall. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is horrible. I can't live like this. And that's what pushed me out of my comfort zone to start hiring people. That was a huge transition in my life when I hit the wall and I realized I can't do everything. That was probably some of the worst advice I ever received was, if you want it done right, do it yourself. No, you go find somebody who is a professional whose unique ability is doing the thing that you're poor at. And so that started my journey of joining some masterminds and making the right hires and bringing people into the business, learning how to manage people. That was arguably the most transformative moment in my life. That transformation from trying to get out of business operator into business owner.
I love that. I love that you realized that you needed to make a transition and that you did. That is awesome. That is awesome. So now that people know your story, they learn some tips from you, they know you and your frenemy, Carl. Let me not leave that out. How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so we're on all the social channels, but if you're somebody who's interested in building a legacy, if you're wanting to make an impact with your friends and family, if you're trying to retire and you want to create passive income with real estate, we've got a ton of free resources on our website. It's hbgcapital.net. So that's like Harry, Bob, Gary, capital.net. On there, we've got our free ebook, 100 Questions Business Owners Ask Before Investing. You can grab it. It's completely free. I wrote that book because I wanted to make a difference. I got a phone call one day from one of our current investors. He, at the time, had been with us for like 3 years. And he said, Brandon, I have a friend who's in a lot of trouble. They have lost some money with someone they invested with in real estate. Can you take his call and see if you can do anything? I said, sure, absolutely. Give him my number, connect us. So I hop on the call and he explained what happened. And as I'm getting more information from him, it becomes very apparent that like this person could have avoided their situation. It was the money was gone. They didn't secure it. They didn't have the right paperwork. I mean, they made every mistake in the book because they were too green. And I was like, man, if this person just knew the right questions to ask, they didn't even need experience in it. If you just know what questions to ask, you can prevent a capital loss in your portfolio, because many people are out there right now on this road to retirement and they can't afford a setback. They can't afford a big loss. And unfortunately, that's what happened to this person. So I wrote that book, 100 Questions Business Owners Ask Before Investing, in the hopes that I could just prevent that from happening to just one more person. And the feedback's been great on it. So, we want to give you the tools that you need to prevent a capital loss and make good decisions. So you can grab it on our website.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for sharing all of that wonderful information with the listeners today and for being on our podcast here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, Brandon.
Well, thank you too. It's been a real pleasure.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. We wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.